Following is hard. Kids do it better. That's why Jesus said it's a lot like kid following a parent. You got to become like a child in the sense that you got to trust the good shepherd. And I think of that when my kids were little. I think about they would be willing to walk into any dangerous situation because they didn't even perceive danger half the time. But as long as I had my big old fat hand down there and they had their little hand in mine, we could walk down back alleys in the worst parts of L.A. And it was like, oh, and off they went because they trusted me. Right? And like I've said many times, your kids don't get it. They don't pile into the minivan as 8-year-olds and go, did you pay the insurance premium this month? Right? How much gas do you have in the tank? Did you check the air pressure in the tires? They don't think that way. They think you're in the seat. You got this figured out. Okay, here we go. Off we go. Did you grow up in a church where you had printed hymnals? You stood up and sang out of hymnals. Remember that? Some of you old timers. One thing you didn't want to be back in that day is the third verse of any hymn. Because you know how that was, right? 1, 2, and 4. Worship leaders didn't know how to count, apparently. 1, 2, and 4. The pastors wouldn't let them have enough time for their all 4 verses, but 1, 2, and 4. I came across a hymn when I was researching and studying for you this week, and I read the whole hymn a couple times, and that third verse just kept jumping out at me. I thought, well, this is the verse I never sang as a kid. It was written by an old Baptist poet and pastor and leader with the seminary, and he wrote this hymn a long time ago, over 100 years ago. And you might remember singing it in church. He leadeth me. Remember that old English, right? He leadeth me. The third verse was so good as I just reacquainted myself with it this week. Because it has that picture of what we need when we're walking through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't fear, right, because he's with us. His rod and staff, they comfort us. That we've got to have that in our minds. Listen to the third verse of this old hymn. Lord, I would clasp thine hand in mine, nor ever murmur nor repine, content, whatever lot I see, since 'tis my God that leadeth me. Then the chorus, he leadeth me, he leadeth me. By his own hand he leadeth me.